Hello, everybody! My name is Groundback, and with Legends EA being out for a while now, I felt like it's finally time for me to just go over every mega they've ever done and the primals, and give you my thoughts on them. I'm going to warn you right now, this is probably going to be a controversial list, because in general, I like megas, but I also think it's also by far the most overrated gimmick. I feel like anything else, when it comes to Z moves, Dynamax, or Terrestrialization, it's inherently better solely because it can give every Pokemon a chance to, do something. Whether it's a Pokemon in a low tier, like in PU, if it's an under evolved Pokemon, or even something as weak as Caterpie. I'm not saying most people want to use Caterpie, but like, if you want to use Dynamax Caterpie or make Caterpie a fire type or something, you at least have the option. Megas, in contrast, are straight up better in terms of the upgrades they give to the Pokemon, and you obviously give them, new forms entirely, which have like all the hype and aura, but it technically doesn't really save the original, since as far as competitive is concerned, the Mega and the base form will just be tiered separately. And along with that, if there's no Megas, suddenly the Pokemon is just back into irrelevancy, which is why I prefer, regional variants or evolution. But it doesn't mean that Megas aren't cool. They are cool, and like I enjoy using them as much as other people do. Shame that most of them are made to be kind of edgy and kind of go against Pokemon's main philosophy, which I'll talk about a little bit more with like some of the newer Megas which don't have this problem. But yeah, that's about it. Looks like all of these megas are going to be ranked in Pokedex order, which is fine by me. So let's just get started with it. And we're starting off with one that's not really too good or bad. It's Mega Venusaur. I do think Mega Venusaur is strictly an improvement over the base design. It's bigger, the plants are bigger, and the flower on the head is a little weird, but I do appreciate something being there. And of course, it has thick fat, which, helps out Venusaur a lot and makes it a very interesting grass type, having less weaknesses than normal. Does make me wonder how it would do as a pure grass type, though. Because as a pure grass type, it would have that resistance to ground. But you know what? It came out in Gen 6. That's where fairy types are a thing. And resisting fairy is probably better. So honestly, pretty solid. Doesn't do anything particularly flashy, but it's fun to use if I'm using Venusaur already. It's pretty good and decent. Fixes the problems of the original Venusaur by making the design better. So yeah, that's pretty much it. By the way, I'm also going to have Showdown like in another tab because especially for some of these newer megas, I need to look at their base stat total because I don't remember them by heart. And along with that, for some like the one we're going at next, I got some things to say. Now, before anything else, let me start by saying that Charizard and Garchomp are tied for my favorite Pokemon of all time. And Mega Charizard X is cool, but I do think it's a bit overrated. Now, for starters, I always didn't get people whining about Charizard not being a dragon type, because it genuinely didn't really mean much. Charizard already looks like a dragon and breathes fire. All the qualities that make a dragon cool, it already has. So, like, what difference does it make? And in terms of competitive, well, even then, I do not think it, matters too much. Because the ground immunity is already fantastic. That takes care of one of, Fire's main weaknesses. And you're trading that for just an electric resistance, which I just don't really like. I think Dragon Fire's a cool typing, but I don't know. Like it just doesn't really get the job done as or which I would like. Along with that, it does even consistently remove Charizard's problems with being a fire flying type because it still has base Charizard to deal with. The Mega Charizard X is still weak to Stealth Rocks. And by the way, even without, even if it's already Mega Evolved, it's still taking like a fourth damage. So that's nice. And just being weak to ground just really sucks. And its base stat distribution really annoys me. So, like, if you look up the base stat distribution, it's supposed to be a mixed attacker, which I just always found confusing. Because what's the point of making one a strong special attacker and giving one tough claws? Like, it's not like it gets Draco Meteor. And Mega Charizard X and Mega Sceptile got Draco Meteor, I would get it, but they don't. No one cares about Dragon Pulse. So I don't understand what's the point of that here. Granted, Charizard's already, like, really great. Both of them are great, especially in Gen 6. Pretty sure in Gen 7, I think one of them fell off. I forget which one. And I think in that dex, Charizard X is, like, borderline or something. I think you probably could have spec'd a little bit into special defense. I don't think it would have been a big deal if Charizard was like 90. But it's not a big deal. And I guess it's kind of cool for what I do. Because for those of you who don't know, most of my videos are actually about putting new Pokemon in Gen 1 OU. And I like to have tournaments with them. So with the one I'm hosting right now, I have Charizard X in it. And with that, with like RBY stuff, like you get like, guaranteed slash, fire blast at, 30% burn rate, thunder punch, like hyper beam. These are all cool things that Mega Charizard X can do. And something that you can only really fully accomplish with its mixed attacking stats. So when it comes to that, it's not really that bad. And I hate to admit it, but yeah, it's cool. Black and blue do work very well together. And it's also cool that the flames are blue, implying that they're much hotter. Although I do find that weird, since Mega Charizard Y has, much higher special attack, and Moody has Drought Vulnerability, which, enhances fire moves at 50%. So I really don't get why, like, the X's with flames outside of aesthetically, but it's not really a big deal. It's more so nitpicking. Now, I'm gonna be real. The main reason it's in B tier, because it, honestly, with as far as my requirements go, it is just deserving of A tier. And I might put it there after comparing other things, but, well, I guess I'll just get right to it. I like Charizard Y way better. It's my favorite Mega, I would have to say. And I feel like Mega Charizard Y is a much more authentic take on what a Charizard Mega should be. Mega Charizard X changes the typing, gives it tough claws, and like, there have been times in the past where Charizard was a physical attacker, especially in RBY, where Sword Stance is probably its best set. But I don't know, like, X feels like just a new Pokemon to me, while Charizard Y just feels like what Charizard's direction should have gone. I'm not gonna hate both of them existing. A lot of people hate on Charizard because that's two Megas, but like, look at both of these. I think both of these are cool enough and different enough gameplay-wise to deserve to exist. But why do I like Charizard Y more? Well, for starters, like, Charizard X tries to, get rid of the weaknesses of the fire type by, becoming dragon. But in execution, you're still weak to rock moves. You're still weak, or you're now weak to ground, which you previously weren't, and you're only neutral to water. Charizard Y gets drought, which with, the sun up, that weakens water moves. And Charizard Y also is just built to be more of a special tank. Which, that's pretty nice. But you know what? That special attack is huge. And because of the sun, it actually allows you to use Solar Beam. Solar Beam hits rock, ground, and water super effectively. So Charizard Y does a much better job at, helping itself beat its weaknesses. How exactly does Charizard X beat ground types? Or, let's be real, even water types? It needs to go for Dragon Dance with Tough Claws, but even then, there's a lot of bulky waters as well as, physically bulky ground types. I guess there's Thunder Punch, but I don't think Thunder Punch is as good in modern gens as it would be in Generation 1 where it's special. Also, I just love burning things. Fire is one of my favorite types, and things like Charizard, Chi-Yu, Moltres, put like choice specs or life orb on these, and burning things with Fire Blast is one of my favorite things ever. And because of the sun, I feel like Charizard in general is one of the better Pokemon that can just hit through resistances, even while not being very effective. A Charizard Wise Fire Blast is gonna hit like a truck. Like, you can switch in your water type, but even that's gonna take decent chip. It then needs to worry about Solar Beam. It's just so much fun to use. And then you have Natdex. Now, I don't play much of it anymore, but I did manage to be on the leaderboard for a bit because I was using a combination of Walking Wake and Mega Charizard Y. Charizard Y gets Weather Ball, so having the sun come out and then having a 100 base power fire move, that was pretty cool. And also, it wasn't very common, but the fact that it can occasionally become like a water move is also pretty cool. Since obviously in the rain, Solar Beam isn't going to work, Fire Blast wouldn't have done much damage anyways. In a situation like that, might as well have a 100 base power water move that gets, boosted in the rain, that it's basically hitting a water type neutrally. Not the best course of action. If you can avoid that, you should. But it's pretty cool that that has options like that. On top of that, the sun also just, as you can probably tell with Walking Wake, can also help your teammates out. Walking Wake getting a speed boost with choice specs, that's cool. Having two fire types in doubles and spamming Heat Wave, that's cool. There's a lot of other things that makes Charizard Y more versatile and more fun to use in my opinion. Not that I haven't used Charizard X, I have played many games in Gen 6 and 7 with Dragon Dance. But in my opinion, I just like Y more. And Y's existence is part of the reason why X is a little bit lower. I'm just gonna say this now too. I think in general, most of the original Mega Pokemon were edgy. Normally, Pokemon tries to do a balance of like cool and cute. So that way, like, everyone has a chance of liking something. And there'll be plenty of times when they'll intentionally make something less cool or add some elements to it that make it kind of goofy, so that it's not just going too far in one direction. And this is 110% the reason why Pokemon is as popular as it is, because the Pokemon are all designed to where you're able to reach as many people as possible. It's not like Digimon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Where, sure, there's like some girls that like them, and that's cool, but it's mostly like a boy demographic thing because most of the things are made to be super, like, cool, powerful, all that. So, it's not like inherently like the worst thing in the world because, I am a monster fan. I like seeing monsters do cool things and be strong, but I do like the ones that have more personality. Which, yeah, Charizard Y is still pretty spiky, but like, Charizard X is really black and blue, like, with blue flames. So, like, it's not as edgy as it could have been because its brother is right there. Now, next I want to go with Blastoise, which I'll probably just put, like, in B tier. I don't have too much to say. When it comes to the Kanto starters, I've always preferred the Charmander and Bulbasaur one as opposed to Squirtle. I think the ability Blastoise has is cool by boosting moves like Water Pulse, or Spear, etc. And I think with Shell Smash, this thing probably is a monster. But I don't know. I've just never found playing with Mega Blasters to be all that fun. But the design is super sick, so it definitely is not going to get a low tier spot by any means. And next up, we have Beedrill. Beedrill is one of the Pokemon I tried to make work so much in the past. And yeah, I'm gonna be real, it's just a min-max Pokemon. And the main reason I'm not gonna put it higher is because its results are very, very inconsistent. And because of that, it's not the most fun for me. But I do think it's interesting. I like how they got a weak Pokemon and just made only two of its stats insanely high. I would be interested to see them do that more in the future. And then Mega Pidgeot, I'm just gonna put in C tier. It's just kind of meh. It's not really doing anything that, like, it's very offensive, but I'm also just kind of bored with it. And I don't think its playstyle is very fun either. It's no guard Hurricane for the part. I'm also gonna put both of the Mega Raichus in C here. There's nothing really for or against them. I think they're just alright. Never been the biggest fan of like the Pikachu line. Don't like playing with them that much in game either. But, you know, I think it's cool that they're still doing the whole X and Y thing. Makes me happy since I don't like Charizard getting so much hate. And Raichu, while it is the Pikachu line, is nowhere near as popular. So with Mewtwo and Charizard, you can say, oh yeah, like that's like fan favoritism on Game Freak's part. But Raichu, even with the original form, is overshadowed by Pikachu so much. So having a forms, or two of them, that like help it stand out more, that's good. And now they made the look more Pikachu, yeah, but like, who cares? Like, it's already less popular than Pikachu in the first place. So that's just whatever. Mega Clefable, I'm sorry, I just don't really care about too much. I'm gonna put it in D tier. I already think Base Clefable is some of my least favorite Pokemon. Magic Guard is one of the most annoying things I've ever had to deal with. And like, even in like earlier gens, like Gen 4, even in Gen 4, I still find it incredibly annoying to deal with. And then you take Clefable, you just give it wings and a weird dome head. It really doesn't work out for me. And I don't think it's going to be very fun to use either. But one that is fun to use is Alakazam. I think Trace is always a pretty fun ability. And I think it, like, losing some stats to make it less bulky is a pretty even trade-off. Pretty strong, all things considered. But a lot of it does depend on what you copy. But, like, it's also not too hard to do, you know? I never got to do it myself, but just the idea of, like, Mega Alakazam copying an opponent's boost and then just sweeping sounds really cool. Speaking of really cool, I love me some Mega Victreebel. This is going to be the first example of, like, the new Megas not being made just to be all spiky and edgy. They actually, did something creative with it, and made it goofy but also intimidating at the same time. Like, I look at Mega Victreebel and I just want to give it a hug, but also, if it was pissed off and it wanted to kill me, I would take that threat seriously as well. So that's already good. But along with that, like I said, I do a lot of Gen 1 videos. The Mega Victreebel was always my most anticipated one to go over. Because, well, Victreebel in the base form is already pretty good in RBY. And over the past few months, I've learned to really enjoy Rap Spam. So I've really gotten appreciation for both Victreebel and Weepinbell. So me and my friend Sotina, we have just been eagerly looking forward to Victreebel's stats for months. And we were terrified it was going to be slower, but it's not. Which is great. It still has the exact same speed tier. Now granted, unfortunately, with these stats, they're really not that great for actual, like, Gen 9. Because with actual Gen 9, you look at these, and these are, like, stats that would be acceptable on just a regular Pokemon, for use for Gen 9 standards, I would say. But for RBY, it's actually fine. Like, not the 135 special, but it doesn't apply that, long story. But, like, these are stats for a great mix attacker with Sweet Powder, and Sword Stance if you want, and Wrap. And it's a fun Pokemon to use. The best part is that, even with those stats, at least with the jumble that I'm currently hosting on my server, it's fine and never used and underused, and also good in OU and Ubers. And those are some of my favorite Pokemon. Pokemon that you can use in multiple tiers and have multiple different functions. It's pretty cool. Speaking of pretty cool, Mega Slowbro was the first ever Pokemon I tried building with. Not just for all of the Megas, but it was really my introduction into competitive Pokemon in the first place. I thought it was interesting, so I saw a video saying how to use it. It wasn't very good, because it was like telling Slowbro to have like Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Scald, and Rest. Which is pretty gimmicky, all things considered. But like, it's what got me into it. And one thing I will say is that, I know a lot of people think that, Mega Slowbro has a very lazy design, but it's still following the same process that the Slowpoke line has had for the entire time. For Slowbro, Slowking, and their regional forms, it's always only been the shoulder evolving the entire time. You've never had any instances of this not being the case. So for shoulder to be the one mega evolving, with Slowpoke stays the same, not only does that make just sense, like this is how it's always been, but it's also very funny to have the shoulder be eating most of Slowbro. And you have things like Mega Kangaskhan, which only have the baby change. And Slowbro's have a more drastic and interesting change than that. I'll go over Mega Kangaskhan in a bit, but I think Slowbro's fine. And then we have Mega Gengar. Mega Gengar is pretty cool. I don't have a lot of fun actually using it in game. I just don't think, in my opinion, I think Gengar's just a little bit too frail to use for my Mega. But Shadow Take is a really good ability, and it definitely deserves to be Ubers because of that. But it's cool. The shiny's white. I do think white shinies for Ghosts is a little overrated, just like how I think all black shinies are, but it's not the biggest deal. It's a lot better than most of Gengar shinies, although I still prefer Gengar shiny sprite in Gen 3, where you can actually see a decent change between, the base and the shiny. Now here's one that is either a make or break for people, and for me, Mega Starmie is absolutely making it. This is such a, I mean this genuinely, not even with a bit of sarcasm. It is genuinely one of the better, designs they've done in years. Because, well, let's be real. There's no such thing as bad publicity. It doesn't matter if you love it or you hate it. The fact that Mega Starmie is everywhere is proof that they made the best design possible. Because you can have, something like Phalanx at the bottom here, which, has a funny little gimmick, but, that's not enough to have the entire internet talking about it. You will see memes everywhere, Mega Starmie, and you will see people hating it or praising it, and you wouldn't be able to do that if the design wasn't so inherently simple and goofy. They just gave Starmie big legs, but it looks funny. And because of it looking funny, that's what allows a lot of the memes, actually, get a chuckle out of you. You could probably do the same thing with, I don't know, Mega Gallade running out of, the SB containment, or have, Mega Phalanx to do, a funny pose, but I think the fact that you're not seeing those as memes shows it's not really hitting us hard. I also want to mention that, for those who don't know, Pokemon, just as a franchise, has always been inspired by Ultraman. If you don't know what Ultraman is, TLDR is just Japan's, version of Superman, but he fights giant monsters instead. Starmie and Staryu have always been inspired by that, and even in the show, their cry is just cries from Ultraman. And Mega Starmie is just that, but even more. That's part of the reason why it just looks like a person in a star costume. And I just really like it. It's just a really funny Pokemon. And one that screams Gen 1 to me. Because, I do a lot of Gen 1 videos, and it's more than just the actual format being interesting, but also because I just feel the simpler designs are better, just in general. I feel all the Pokemon in Gen 1 have, more personality to them. And a lot has to do with, the way the sprites are pretty goofy back then. And for all the more simplistic designs, I feel there's just kind of more you can just imagine about them. And Starmie is tough. Just with Victreebel, I would laugh if I saw Starmie in real life. But if that bro was running towards me, I would run for my life, and I would be genuinely terrified. You would be terrified too if that thing was charging towards you. And on top of all of that, its stats are just really good. Try to look up Mega Starmie, and everyone definitely thinks it's gonna have huge power. And I think that's a pretty, justified thing to, theorize about. Because at least with the original game, it has 120 base attack. So, pure power or something like that, very likely. Works very well as a mix attacker, which I think is pretty cool. And for RBY, I haven't used a lot of it, but once it has a a sprite you can actually see in game, I will do What If Starmie is in Gen 1 OU, even if Gen 1 Ubers is more likely. But yeah, like all in all, Starmie, funny, has a lot of personality, and if you think any other Pokemon could have like done a gimmick like it and still be popular, you're just wrong. Like you need something that's like bizarre Starmie in order to be this talked about. Now on to other megas. Mega Pinsir, I just think is very goofy, but I like it. It looks very creepy with like the way the eyes change and the wings coming out, but then you see its lore, and it's just so ecstatic about having the ability to fly that's just going all around the place. That's adorable. That is completely and utterly adorable. And along with that, Aerial Weight, Refrigerate, Pixelate are some of my favorite abilities. I've already told you that I'm a big fan of RBY. And another part for why I play so much of it and why it's my favorite, here, just to talk about and stuff, is because normal is just my favorite type in general. Not just because of how strong it is in, RBY, but just in general when it comes to like Gen 2 or like Gen 3 or just in general. I just like things that are more simple and versatile. So for normal, even in like newer gens, I mean, it's just more fun there. Where like you can use like Double Edge and it works on basically almost everything. So taking normal moves like Double Edge or Body Slam, things I have a lot of fun with anyways, and then boosting their power a lot. Yes, please. Like a Pinsir having a powerful return, which is hitting about as hard as Double Edge, and then having like a powered up quick attack. That's a lot of fun to use, and I just love it. Now Mega Kangaskhan. I'm gonna put it like here in the B tier. I'm not too impressed with the design, although I think it makes sense. I think the actual baby is like, nice with design. But still, like, I would kind of want more, at least. Which might seem contradictory since I just had a whole thing about how most Pokemon are made to be edgy. And yeah, Mega Kangaskhan isn't like that. It's very wholesome, but like, even if it's very minor, I feel like you could have done like something, like whether it's like have some like I don't know stripes or like maybe like something visually different. I don't know. I can't think of it now, but like you could have done something. Regardless, I do think Kangaskhan is a fun Pokemon to use. Parental Bond is just a pretty neat ability, and I like being able to double Fake Out, double Sucker Punch, double Power Punch. It's just a lot of fun to use. That's the main thing kind of redeeming it. Too bad there's nothing redeeming Mega Gyarados. I think this just looks ugly. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I do not like this design at all. And you take the big, slender, serpentine Gyarados, and you just, I don't know, like, make him look like he's like Jimmy Neutron or something. I just do not like, I just don't like the design. And along with that, I just don't like the ability either. I think Mold Breaker is a very boring ability to give it. And along with that, I'm not even sure why it even wants it. Normal Gyarados has Intimidate. That is a great ability. Normal Gyarados also has Moxie. Both of these are great for sweeping. But what are you using... Like, seriously, what are you using Mold Breaker for? Like, what Pokemon are you trying to hit? When Excadrill has Mold Breaker, that's fantastic, because levitating Pokemon are suddenly weak to Earthquake, like Rotom. But Gyarados? It can hit Storm Chamber, Waters, or Pokemon with Waterfall. Yay! They're not gonna care about that. You can use Earthquake on the Rotoms, which, like, sure. But you also have that new Dark type. So, like, you also go for Crunch. So, like, not that that's better. Obviously, Earthquake is better against the Rotoms, but that's, like, the only case I can think about. I just can't think of anything else for why Mold Breaker is okay. It'd even make more sense if it was a Stealth Rock user. But I don't think it weren't Stealth Rock. So, like, I just can't think of anything. The Aerodactyl, I'm just gonna put, like, in C tier. I don't really think the design is that great. Like, I think it's kind of boring. And also just kind of putting spikes in Aerodactyl just to make it edgy for, like, the sake of it being edgy. Not really something I care too much about. And like the ability is cool. Like it's the same one as Charizard with Tough Claws. But like I like it more in Aerodactyl because well, I feel like Rock Flying kinda needs something like that. Aerodactyl is one of the few flying types that doesn't learn Brave Bird, even though Golbat and Crobat learn it. Weird. Rock Slide is already a pretty low base power move, so I think, Tough Claws gives it the exact boost of base power it needs. And if you want to gamble and use Stone Edge instead, I think that's a pretty decent, trade off. Like, really good attack, but also, not the best accuracy. So overall, not that bad, just pretty solid. It's also a lot of fun in RBY because of how much better the stats are, but Aerodactyl having a really bad move pool, it actually evened things out a lot, and I really appreciate that. I'm going to put Mega Dragonite in, like, probably the top of A tier. I wasn't the biggest fan of it at first, but it grew on me a lot. I actually really like that it has a lowered attack, because Dragonite has always been used as a physical attacker, so I think this is actually not only needed in order to keep Dragonite balanced, but also just really interesting in general. It's fun using Dragonite's special attacker, both in RBY and, as I would probably guess, pretty fun to use in, like, Gen 9 competitive as well. The Extreme Speed is still a great move to have, even with the lowered attack, even if, albeit, the damage ranges are no longer as much in your favor. But yeah, like, it's cute. It's not being edgy. They so easily could have made Dragonite edgy, but they spared him that fate, which makes me very happy. So, yay! Overall, just pretty good. I might even put it in S. Actually, I think I will put it in S tier. Like, I think it actually is, like, something I would use way more than all of the Megas in A tier. Never using Mega Mewtwo X. It's ugly, I'm sorry. I don't like either of the Mega Mewtwo forms. It's ugly, and they give it the fighting type, which I understand what they're trying to do. You're trying to use, like, more of Mewtwo's physical attack, which has always been a good physical attacker. And along with that, it's trying to make it, like, look, it finally overcomes its dark weakness. But it's in the same tier where they have fairy types. So, like, it just have a major fairy weakness, and that's just so much worse. You'd rather just, like, Focus Blast the, dark types, which it's always had. Why is a little bit better? I do like how they balance it out a little bit, making its, defense weaker. But even then, it's still legendary. So, like, 90 defense, I think, or 70, whatever it is like... It's, like, really not that bad at all. But at least they tried, I can respect that. Oh boy, Mega Meganium. I really do not like how all they did was just add a bunch of flowers on it. But at least with the render here, it doesn't look that bad. Let me look at it in, like... Mega Meganium, does it have a... Okay, I can't even see. But I can see the base stats at the very least. And, like, this is, like, one thing I will say. Meganium is a Pokemon that desperately needed a buff for years. Now they have it as a Grass Fairy type. And these stats are really freaking bulky. Now, Quad Weak, the poison is, well, honestly kind of funny. But also, I'm pretty sure the Fairy type actually helps Meganium actually do things as a defensive Pokemon. So, I can't really complain too much. I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's honestly not that bad. Now, Flowagator. Flowagator completely depends on the render, if I love it or hate it. Or not even love it, just think it's kind of cool. It looks so ugly right here. And I do think the whole gimmick is kind of lame. Like, when I first saw it, I immediately thought of, like, Regidrago. Regidrago probably does it better because, at least then, its base design is, like, like, actually, like, good. This does not look good at all. I'm just gonna put this in, like, C tier right now. Actually, yeah, probably D tier. Sorry. I am also gonna put Mega Ampharos in F because, like, really, that's all you can do. You gave it the Dragon type, you gave it hair. I'm not even sure how much that helps. Like, does Ampharos, with its low speed, really appreciate the Fairy and Ice weakness? I couldn't tell you. It's not like that Dragon type's helping with this ground weakness either. Mega Steelix is pretty cool. I don't have too much to say. I think it's, like, super raw as heck. Also, I'm gonna move Meganium, like, up here and probably... Yeah, that seems right for me. But like, yeah, Mega Steelix looks really cool. So much better than like regular Steelix for design. Overall, just pretty neat. I'm putting Mega Scizor in like C tier. Probably like probably at the top of C tier, I would say. I think most of it looks cool, but the most important part being its pincher claws or whatever they're called. I just don't think that they really work. Regular Scizor's claws look like they're like, like fast, and they can quickly cut you in half. And funny enough, thanks to like the Battle Revolution model, they kind of look like boxing gloves, so like make something like Bullet Punch way more fitting. I don't know, I just have a hard time seeing Scizor cutting anything with those. Instead of like doing anything for slashing, they look more like, like almost like big, like those like scissors, like the ones that have like the unique pattern, which like kids use to do like the cut things and like like funny shapes and stuff like that. That's what they look like to me. It's kind of goofy, but I do think that Mega Scizor's Pokedex entry, being that it's like it cuts things so fast whenever that it melts, that's pretty raw as hell. I can respect that. I cannot respect Mega Heracross though. The design may be alright. I don't really like it, but I think it's kind of cool how, like, its face kind of swaps with, like, has, like, the belly, like, at the back, and then, like, I don't know, like, it's kind of weird, but also, the one thing that I absolutely despise with Mega Heracross is, like, its ability. Why did you give it Skill Link? It's a Hercules Beetle. Heracross's signature move for the longest time was Mega Horn, and with its design, which is really made to, lift things up with its horn, and with its, Pokédex entries saying it can lift things with absurd weight, why the absolute hell does it have Skill Link? Why are you not using Mega Horn? Why are you using something stupid like Pin Missile and Rock Blast? What do those have to do with Heracross's philosophy at all? It's nothing to do with it. Does it help him more competitively? Maybe. But also, like, was Heracross rock coverage? Was the rock coverage really holding Heracross back? It's weak to flying type, sure. But it is only Tornadus as a pure flying type. If you're using something as a flying type, it probably has a secondary type that beats Heracross anyways. Or it's like a normal flying type. And spoiler alert, normal flying types are still scared of close combat. It's just so... It's so stupid. It is so stupid. And like, you also could just done something very simple. Like, maybe not like Compound Eyes, because it's not like it's like a Beedrill or Butterfree, because like Hercules Beetles aren't like that. You couldn't gotten like a similar ability that like boosts its accuracy, so Mega Horn's like 95 to 100. With how good, Heracross's attack is, I think it's like literally the second highest or third highest attack in the entire game. I'm pretty sure Heracross, having that high attack stat and having a move like Mega Horn be almost guaranteed to hit, that's already fair enough. And I dare even say that's probably enough to make it viable, at least in like Gen 6. I don't know, it's just such a disappointment. Same with Mega Houndoom. Its design is raw as hell, but like, Solar Power? On its own, that's a very lame ability. But then it's dependent on a Sun Pokemon. Like, you just can't use Mega Houndoom in Team whatever. You're better off with Life Orb Houndoom. It's so disappointing. It's... Like, if it had, like, literally anything else, like, even if its ability was, like, Infiltrator, I think it would have been so much better, but... Albeit, there we are. Now, when you look at Mega Skarmory, because I forget what its base stats are like. Okay, so it's fast, and it's tanky on both special and physical side. That's pretty cool. And Skarmory is one of my all-time favorite Pokemon, because as a kid, my copy of Heart Gold was very jank, because my friend traded me a Skarmory. I don't even remember why, I think I just thought it was cool. But yeah, so like, most of my life, my Heart Gold team was like weird. It was like Typhlosion, Skarmory, Mewtwo, Groudon, Shiny Gyarados. So like, I just have a lot of memories of using it. And obviously it was good and, competitive. And it still is, but Corviknight definitely, annoys it a lot. I didn't believe the leaks when I first saw it. Not sure why Skarmory was, like, made to be gold, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and I appreciate Skarmory, getting a nice buff. Also, I think I will put Charizard in A, so, like, I hope you're happy. Like, yeah, I think I'm also gonna put Zam down a little bit. Okay, let's keep moving on. You have Tyranitar. Next to Charizard and Garchomp, Tyranitar is, like, my third favorite Pokemon. And the design, I'm pretty sure, is based off Super Godzilla. And Godzilla is really the only franchise I like more than Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just been a part of my life since the very beginning, basically. I also like how it's just boosted base stats, not some any, like, busted ability. It makes Tyranitar pretty cool. I don't think the design is, like, cooler than the original. And a big part of that's because, oh, they just made it super spiky and edgy, ooh. So yeah, it's, could be better, but I'm not gonna complain too much. Mega Sceptile was my Mega for, Alpha Sapphire when I got it. I think it's really cool. I think it improves on the Mega Sceptile's base design a lot. And the Dragon type is also neat. I think the ability is kind of lame, but I managed to get some use to make it cool in doubles with, like, Pachirisu and also, like, Choice Scarf Thundurus with Discharge. I don't have too much else to say. Just a cool Pokemon, and one that I hope, gets to, like, do a lot of cooler things in the future. I think Mega Blaziken is also cool. I think it was probably a good call to, like, its speed boost ability. I think it's cooler than base, but that's about it. Mega Swampert, I think, really just depends on the render. It looks cool here, but I think it looks, like, very goofy in the original games. But Swipstorm is a pretty fun ability. Mega Gardevoir I like a lot. I already like base Gardevoir. Like I said before, moves that boost normal type attacks are great. So, like, Stab, Hyper Voice as a fairy move, that is so much fun to spam, both in singles and doubles. Now for Sableye I think is also pretty neat. I like how Prankster and Magic Bounce, both are abilities that kind of aren't opposite each other, and, like, if they were to go against each other, but together works really well. Sableye has a lot of, does have a lot of the best abilities. Or not abilities, I mean base stats. But Prankster already makes it kind of worth it. And then being able to switch between Prankster and Magikarp is fantastic. It makes it a very interesting Pokemon to play with, and I love that. I don't have much to say about Mega Mawile. It's cool. Like, I like the big giant jaws. And its huge power ability is fun, but that's pretty much it. I just don't use it a lot. I just don't have a lot of fun playing it, but it gave Mawile a desperately needed buff, and that's pretty cool. But it's also one of my main, like, points to show how, like, Mega Evolution doesn't, like, save a Pokemon. Because Mawile loved this buff so much. But then what did it do in Sword and Shield when it lost it? It was just boned, and no one cared about it again. Now for Mega Aggron, I think sometimes it looks cool, like in the anime, for example. But I think in general, it looks kind of... Although I do think the philosophy to, like, remove its rock typing is very interesting. Meanwhile, for Medicham, I just never liked that much as a Pokemon. I just never liked this design, and the Mega doesn't make it better. Not too much to say there. That trick's alright. I think it's kind of dumb. But at the same time, like, I don't know what else you could do with regular Manectric. And I think it's kind of cool with Intimidate. I don't have too much to say for Sharpedo or Camerupt, really. I'm just gonna put both of them in the bottom of C here. Really not much I can really add there. I think Mega Altaria is alright. I like Pixelate and Fairy Dragon's a cool combo. But I don't really use it that much. Altaria was always my least favorite dragon in, like, Moon games. And even with, what's it called? Flygon not getting a Mega, I still think it's cooler and one I'm more fun with. I think Banette looks kind of cool. I think Banette looks cooler than, like, Gengar, in my opinion. And it looks like a cool, like, what, a Puppet Master there. I think the actual Prankster ability is kind of useless, though. I just don't know what Banette's trying to do. That's, like, the only reason it's not, like, an S tier for me. Chimecho is really cool, but we don't know too much about it. I'll just put it in B tier for now because it looks cool. And I'll put Absol in D tier because I really don't think the wings are like saving it. Neither is Magic Bounce. Or actually, I'll put it in C tier. I think I'm being too harsh. Because Absol itself is still a cool Pokemon. And it's not like Mega Absol like takes away anything to make it cool. It's speaking of cool, I like using Refrigerate. And strangely enough, Mega Glalie was like one of the first Pokemon I used when, Gen 7 became a thing on Showdown. Not too much to say there, just say, fun Pokemon. Now, Mega Salamence, it's fun to use. I won't deny that. It is a lot of fun to use with Aerial Weight and just killing things with, Double Edge or Return. But it is, by far, the worst designed Pokemon out of any Mega. Maybe just the worst designed Pokemon of all time. What the hell was this? How do you take something as cool as Salamence and make it lame? How do you make it so lame that it just looks like something that anyone can push over and then it's just dead? So disappointing. Thank goodness they tried with Mega Metagross though. Mega Metagross looks so cool. And I believe if I remember correctly, it's still white and gold, but don't they change the gold part surrounding Metagross to blue? That's pretty dope, not gonna lie. These are just the same Pokemon. They don't look like Mega Salamence, so they're not gonna be the worst, but yeah, that's just... Mega Kyogre is cool, and I think it's... Honestly, I get what they're going for, but I honestly kind of like Kyogre's covers better. And along with that, because it doesn't get the, modify its speed since it has to have the blue orb, I think base Kyogre is better and more fun to use too. I'd much rather use Choice Specs, Water Spout, or Choice Scarf than Primo Kyogre any time of the day. Groudon, on the other hand, this is not the case. I'll put it here. Groudon, Kyogre, Rayquaza are already tied for my favorite legendaries and are all tied for fourth place as my favorite Pokemon of all time. Groudon looks cool as hell, and they have lava now just pouring through it, which is raw as hell. And then they give the creator of the land the respect he deserves and removes that water weakness. And Groudon having fire type this makes inherently sense because it's in magma all the time. It's just great. It's great and competitive. I've used it. It does amazing. I love burning things that overheat and then crushing things with precipice blades. I like how, Kyogre has to respect it. And just in general, just a awesome Pokemon. More of this, please. Oh boy. You've probably seen the thumbnail already. No. Not clickbait. It's not clickbait. I really do not like Mega Rayquaza. Rayquaza, if I had to choose, might be my favorite of the Weather Trio. Base Rayquaza is so cool. So why did the Mega design have to... What are these, antler things, whatever these are, that, go over its mouth? I never got what these were. It just looks weird. I'm sorry. You have, the original Rayquaza, which is, it's a slender serpentine. It's cool. It looks like it can, if really wanted to, squeeze caves or stuff. Like a snake. I love snakes. Why is it so pointy? What are these, little orange-yellow things that are, flying off it now? None of it makes sense to me. It's just way too much. It's over-designed to hell, just like here in Black and White. They are, there's so much stuff going on. I don't even know where to focus. And you know what? It's just poorly designed as well. What do you mean it can use an item? That is just poor game design. And let me tell you right now, I am very, very critical of Pokemon's power creep. And I think the older gens did a much better job balancing things out. And a good example would be Salamence in the original like what's it called? RBE games or advanced games, ADV. Salamence has a lot of it has a lot of, high stats. It's a good mixed attacker, but has a crippling weakness and can't do everything at once. That's balance. Rayquaza would still be good, even if it had to use an item. The Ultra Stream, weakening its flying weaknesses, is good, and it's still balanced out by swapping dragon weaknesses. It's great. It should have just had a green orb, just like Groudon and Kyogre, but it doesn't, and it's stupid. Why can't it have leftovers? Why can't it have weakness policy? Why does that have life orb? Why does that have everything it could ever want? That's not how you design Pokemon. That is just childish. It's not a ROM hack. You guys are grown-ass men with an official $1 billion franchise. Balance your shit better, because this is pathetic. Sorry about that. I know this is my most controversial take. People think Mega Rayquaza is cool. You can tell me I'm wrong in the comments if you want, but you're not gonna convince me. I'm sorry. Even in the anime, I just don't think it has a lot of cool angles. It's just over-designed as hell, and it's competitively a mess. And I just can't respect it, I'm sorry. What I can respect in Mega Lopunny, it's a lot of fun to use, and I like how all they did is just give it yoga pants, basically. There's not too much I can really say. As a fan of normal types, I like Scrappy, I like high jump kicking or returning on Ghost type, it's very satisfying. But let's move on to Mega Garchomp. This is also gonna be a controversial one for me, but I really don't think Mega Garchomp's that bad. Is it better than the original? No. But everyone's saying that Mega Garchomp's lame and all that. I never really agreed. I think the design is definitely trying to take inspiration from Final Wars Gigan, which isn't enough for me to call it cool, even I am a big Godzilla fan. But I like how the sickles, or whatever they're called, they're bigger, they're red, it's badass as hell. I can see Garchomp cutting things in half with those, and it's awesome. I like how it actually gets special attack now, because if you look up Garchomp, you'll have it has a usable really good special attack now. The base Garchomp was already good enough where you can use Fire Blast or Draco Meteor to get people off guard, but you have a much more valid reason to use it with, Mega Garchomp. But the speed is very disappointing. If they do put Megas in Gen 10, I sincerely hope that they just retcon Mega Garchomp by, allowing it to keep its 102 speed. I know that people said that, even with, Life Orb, base is doing, more damage. But, I think that would be a very different case if, it had the same speed and Mega Garchomp could be a mixed attack. The ability is also kind of useless, but, it's not Garchomp or Tyranitar overlap. If anything, Tyranitar is able to, help with your Ice Weakness because of its special defense boost with Sand. So, if they just kept its speed, it would have been fine. And even then, I feel like I can understand Game Freak being a little worried, since Garchomp was phenomenal in both Gen 4 and 5. That's just my opinion. The one thing I will say, I do agree the head is weird, but I think the rest of Garchomp looks cool, so I can respect that. Mega Lucario looks cool. I do think having adaptability for, its ability is very unnecessary. So it's, I like Lucario. There's not much I can really say, it's just Lucario but more. At least it's not too spiky, so I'm not gonna call Mega Lucario edgy or anything. Abomastone's just a failure for Pokemon. It's the only thing worse than Salamence. Its Pokedex entries saying how cold it is are lacking compared to other base Pokemon. Its stats do not help base Abomaston at all. Why the hell is it slower? It looks ugly as shit, and just in general, there is nothing going for it. Not the case for Gallade. They made Gallade look like Yugi Muto, and that's pretty cool. I don't like using it that much in, competitive or, even cool. But if they gave it, sharpness for an ability, I'd probably use it all the time. Frostmoss, I think, is pretty cool. I'll put it an A tier. I'm not the biggest fan of the design, but I do love the lore. Now, maybe I'll get its base stats again. I forget what it is. It is getting a 120 speed, which I think it's like it got like 5 more speed. And then the special attack is getting a good buff with special defense. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I think I enjoy it. I kind of respect Embor's like lore. I don't think the design is like bad or anything. Even when a base Embor, I always thought Samurott and Superior are a lot cooler. So there's really not a lot I have to say there. This is just ugly, I'm sorry. This is really ugly, and it looks like Exojoe's constantly struggling to keep balance. Looks like any point it would just fall over. And if it was like a deer, like if it was like one of those like deer in the Ice Age times that have like the ginormous like 40-pound antlers, like if it was like if one of those broke off and it broke its neck, that's what Exojoe would be like. It would try to like keep its head up and that just breaks its neck in the process. It's so stupid. Autono, I think Autono's alright. It was the only Unova Mega for a while. I do think it would have been a lot cooler though if it kept its, regenerator ability. But I think its design is a lot cooler than the original, and I like the added fairy typing. So yeah, that's pretty nice. And then Scolipede, let me look at his base stats again. Scolipede, I believe, gets slower, but you do have a lot more defense. I think the design's cool. Not cooler than the original. I think, like, if it keeps speed boost as an ability, it's going to be much higher. And I think that's pretty fair, too, because, like, it lowers its base speed, but it's, like, a lot bulkier. And, Poison Bug is already pretty bad typing. So I think that would all balance out pretty nicely. We'll have to see if it stays like that. Mega Scrafty is, like, one of the ugliest Pokemon I've ever seen. Like, they barely did anything to change it. They just made the cloak white, which already makes it look like, not to get political, but, like, whatever you think I'm implying is probably, it's probably correct. Like, in some ways like that, Scrafty is coming to a bit uncomfortable. Like, seriously. Why did that be white out of any color? Doesn't even look stronger. If anything, I think it looks a bit wimpier. Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. Now for Mega Electros, this one I definitely need to see the stats for. It's... I think base Electros is, like, fine. What's Iron Battery? Pokemon floats and Is that a new ability? I've never seen this before. Ion Battery. Okay, these are the stats, and that's the ability it has. That's actually pretty cool. That is really cool. Like, I always felt like Electros is, I thought it was weird how they made the Eel the levitating one. But the philosophy of having a Pokemon with no weaknesses, that was pretty interesting. So, like, granted, a Poison Dark with Levitate is much more interesting than an Electric type of Levitate. Because even if, like, Electros, or I guess it has Surf, doesn't matter with him, but, like, in general, Electric types don't have coverage against, ground types anyway. So having Electros still keep Levitate or something like it with better stats, yeah, I'm very interested to see how that plays out. Chandelure looks kind of weird, but I'm sure it's fun to use in, like, competitive. Like, if I had to look up its mega stats, like, what's here? Magic Guard. I don't think it's going to get that, but if it does, I'm making it very interesting. Yeah, 175 special attack. Yeah, like, I'm a big fire fan, so, like, that's gotta be a lot of fun to use. I'm just gonna quickly put, like, Chestnut, and Greninja in B tier, and probably Delphox and, like, higher end of A tier. All these look super cool. I have not played them at all. Like, I've used Greninja, like, with Protein and Battle Bond plenty of times in the past. But, like, it's not gonna be the same as Ash Greninja. And I'm not saying that because, like, I particularly like Ash Greninja, but, like, I'm pretty sure Ash Greninja's stats might have just been better. Especially if you're not using a Mega, so, like, I don't know. Like, Mega Greninja, I think, does look pretty cool, but, like, Chestnut, I think, looks better than the original, and Delphox straight up just looks so cool. Like the Witch thing works great there. And while I'm not really a big fan of, like, black and red, like, shinies, that's not a shiny, but it works super well there, especially with, like, the orange and, like, the whole Halloween vibe Delphox has going on. Failure of a Pokemon. I'm not gonna say much about Mega Pyroar, it's just... Mega Follette. Don't know much about it, but it seems alright. Like, This is gonna sound really bad, but like, I only cared about ZA for the Kanto Megas and how they're gonna act in Gen 1 OU for my videos. I have not really watched any videos of like ZA or seen that much gameplay of. That's really just do not know much about Mega Follette. But the fact that it's, well, technically can't evolve, since it's basically an underevolved Pokemon with a Mega, I think that's cool. I genuinely think they should do more of that. I think it's interesting. They did it with Gigantamax with, like, the, like, Raihan's Pokemon before it, or technically has an evolution in, like, Scarlet and Violet. But you have, like, Pikachu and Meowth and Eevee, which can evolve in the Gigantamax. In general, they should just do that more. Give non-fully evolved Pokemon Megas if they can't evolve anymore. It's a very interesting trade-off. Putting Malamar in C because, like, it's a very creative design. I respect it in that way. And Malamar, like the lore is cool, but just never really, like, vibed with me. Like, I think the way you evolve it is interesting. I think the way that, like, it mind controls all that's interesting, but not enough for me to actually, like, think about it more than once. Barbarical is pretty alright. I like... One thing I will say, like, even though Pyroar's a failure, Pyroar, Barbarical, Dragalge, these were always the most, like, forgettable Kalos Pokemon to me, and for a lot of other people, I'm sure. So I think of all the excellent Pokemon they gave Megas to, even if all of them, like, don't hit, like, the hardest, I definitely think they chose the right ones that deserve the attention the most. Same goes for the starters, who got, like, no gimmicks, and the game they were introduced weird. Now, Dragalge is actually pretty cool. And the main part I love about it is the fact that its Pokedex entry basically, like, unofficially just tells Basically, Dragalge, if you haven't read the Pokedex entries, they don't say it, like, outright. But it's basically how we implied that it gives you cancer, and that's just so funny. Hawlucha. They basically did, like, what they could. Like, it's not a lot added to make a Hawlucha, but, like, I think that's a good thing. Like I said before, less is more, simple is better. And Mega Hawlucha does get bulkier with a cool mask for its whole wrestling thing. I really like it. Zygarde Mega. I am so conflicted on this. I think its design is boring and lame compared to any of the Zygarde forms. I think having so much special attack that uninvested it's more than Deoxys special attack. That is stupid. But you know what? Ironically, design-wise, I think it's actually quite fair. Like, if I'm assuming this is how it's gonna work, Zygarde, you need to, like, get 50%, lose half its HP, turn to complete, and only then can you Mega Evolve. That is a lot of hurdles to go through. You know what? For something as powerful as Mega Zygarde, I think that's fair. I think that's really fair. So you know what? Everything else about it, like, is kinda, I just don't like. But I prefer gameplay over everything else. And I think Zygarde has interesting gameplay. So it gets a spot in the B tier. Mega Diancie is really cool. A lot better than, like, base Diancie's form. So you know what? You get a pass. You're pretty cool. And Mega Drampa. Oh my gosh. This thing is, like, I love this thing so much. I never cared too much about regular Drampa, but I might after seeing this. Like, again, I love snakes, I love dragons, I love dinosaurs. But having Drampa's, like, just have its neck go up and just seeing more of its, like, slender body, I just love that. And along with that, having, like, this be, like, Drampa, like, in its youth, having the clouds be black, like it's going to be a storm, that is so cool. I don't know what ability they're going to give it. Let me see what they're, like, I think it's going to be in the ZA thingamajig. Like, it's gonna be Drizzle. I hope it's Drizzle, because, like, Mega Drampa, I think, could be a very interesting Pokemon in Trick Room. Both in singles and even for, like, singles and VGC, I don't care. It's a cool Pokemon. And even if it doesn't do too much, I think I just want to see it everywhere, because I like it a lot. A lot, actually. Mega Failings, I'm just gonna put in, like, C tier. I see where they're going, but it doesn't really work out for me. Mega Failings, I think, just kinda... it's no Mega Starmie. Like, they try to make it funny, but like, this is how you do funny. You do something that no one was going to see coming. Like, no one was going to predict that Mega Starmie was going to be longer legs. Like, this is, like, bizarre, and, like, no one, like, everyone's just talking about it. Like, yeah, of course, Mega Foundlings are going to make it, like, have, like, more of them, make them, like, climb on top of each other. I think it's funny how the middle one's struggling to keep them up, but that's about, like, the only interesting thing I could say about it. Sorry. Now, last but not least, we got Mega Baxcalibur. And you know what? I think regular Baxcalibur is cool as hell. Even if it wasn't, like, based on Godzilla, it would still be cool. And the Mega isn't really. It's, like, more on the Excalibur part, with, like, the sword going through it. And I think it looks cool. I don't think it needs a lot of spikes. And if anything, I think that's better. Anyone else would have designed Mega Baxcalibur with more spikes, especially making them look like more Godzilla-like. And that's boring. I don't want anything boring, and Baxcalibur isn't boring. I'm pretty sure the face is also, like, more frozen-ish, if I remember correctly. And I just kind of like seeing, like, the smoother back with, like, the tail. I don't know, like, it just kind of, it pleases me. Along with that, I'm just so curious to see how they mess with Baxcalibur stats. Because base Baxcalibur already has, like, some of the best stat distributions you can ever have. Like, 145 attack is already, like, higher than a lot of these Megas. Like, higher than Charizard X, higher than Victreebel, higher than Starmie. It's insane. And they're most likely going to do the Mega Dragonite approach. But even that's not even guaranteed, since, you know, it's literally a sword. So why would a sword-based Pokemon be a special attacker? I don't know. But here's the tier list. I think I'm going to get a lot of people disagreeing with me. Especially with, like, Rayquaza. But also, I had more Pokemon in, like, the B tier and A tier than I thought. Like, I, like, made this tier list thinking I was going to be a hater, but I think I could have done way worse. What do you think? Do you think my tier list opinions are trash? Can you think of something better? And please just keep things civil. Like, if you like Mega Rayquaza, that's cool. Like, if you like any of these Pokemon, that's cool. It's just my opinion. And, like, my opinion isn't gonna, like, change your mind, most likely, if you're already getting annoyed. But, yeah, just be respectful in the comments, because, like, if I think you're dumb or rude, I'm just not gonna bother. But that's about it. Thank you all for watching. This is Groundback, and until next time, I look forward to hearing from you.